The catch is made by DJ Moore, still going across midfield, inside the 40, the 30.
This is Desmond Johnson on the Bleav and Carolina Panthers podcast, here on the Bleav Podcast Network, the #1 podcast network for professionals. Do you believe? If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. We're available in your favorite directories: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Luminary, and TuneIn. You can also find us at Bleav.com and at Bleav Podcast on Twitter. And welcome into the Bleav and Carolina Panthers podcast, the Monday edition, our recap edition. Desmond Johnson, the leading rusher in Panthers history, Jonathan Stewart, here with us. Schuyler Callihan still off this week, actually enjoying his honeymoon. Got married Saturday in Stokesdale, so congratulations to him and his beautiful fiance, well, wife now. So he'll be back with us next Monday. He's out for the whole week. He had to shut everything down to get that done. Panthers and Falcons, in theory, you could say this is one of the best games of the year. It was up and down. It was all over the place. It was a lot of scoring, especially in the fourth quarter. The Panthers come away, though, with the loss in overtime, 37-34. The Atlanta Falcons take over sole possession of first place in the NFC South. The Panthers fall to 2-6 on the season, 0-3 on the road. We'll get into that. We'll get into Stu's opinion of the flow of the game itself. How's Steve Wilkes doing, the interim head coach? He just finished speaking a little bit ago at the podium. We'll hear from DJ Moore, who talks about his crucial play and what happened after that, and a whole lot more. So we'll get into that. It's an open mailbag day as well. So if you have a question you want to pose to J-Stew or myself, an opinion about what happened during the game yesterday, any of that kind of stuff, this is a very interactive podcast. So you can actually respond, and we will answer it live in real time here on the show. Before we get into everything, though, a word from our sponsors at BetOnline. Football is back, and BetOnline remains your #1 source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all of your favorite sports and events like Major League Baseball, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BLEAV to receive your rewards. Bet online, where the game starts. And where we start today is the box score from this game on Sunday. Stu, just to set us off here, what was the one thing that you saw? What was the main thing you saw that stood out to you yesterday about the Panthers' play against the Falcons? So if you had to break it down into a phrase or a sentence from coming out of that game, what would you use?
Poise. Number 11, Mr. Philip Walker, PJ Walker. I think that really sets the tone for what this team is trying to be. A lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of opportunities where I think, any other quarterback that isn't made for that moment would fold under pressure. I think everyone that's listening to this podcast right now that's watched that game yesterday, you have a lot to be happy about in the way that he played yesterday. PJ taking the shots downfield when it matters. Not just, you're up by 14, it's the beginning of the game, but when it matters and trusting his guys. Because, there was a point where DJ Moore, across the middle of the field, drops a pass that was beautifully thrown. It was kind of tipped a little bit and kind of threw DJ off of his rhythm. But those types of plays where a quarterback entrust his receiver the way he did to come back to him to make the potential game-winning touchdown catch at the end of the game there, it reminded me of the same thing that happened with the Seattle Seahawks yesterday when Geno Brown connected with Lockett for a deep touchdown pass early in the game. Lockett dropped one. And Geno showed no hesitation, and he showed all the confidence in the world in his playmaker to deliver him another ball. Things like that, when you see that from your team, when you have a quarterback that's leading the way he did yesterday with poise, it's a beautiful thing to see. And seeing him grow into that role, in the leadership role, playing the quarterback position, that's what you want out of your quarterback. And I think, a big kudos goes to Coach Wilkes with that. His poise reminds me of Coach Wilkes' poise. How Coach was looking on the sideline, unbothered.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly how our quarterback looked yesterday, which was unbothered. So I mean, I would say long-winded answer is what stood out most to me was the poise of PJ Walker and in the way he played that game.
For me, I think it was the fact that we have not been a de facto rushing team, like running team, like a team that's known to run the football, really since you were here. Like I was sitting there thinking about it. I was like, even after you were gone and Christian McCaffrey became the lead back, I don't know if we were really considered a running team per se.
Yeah.
We kind of lost our identity a little bit over the past 4 years compared to the previous 21 or whatever. And yesterday, the one thing I wanted to see was, were we going to stay committed to running the ball like we did the week before? We rushed over 170 yards. We rushed over 170 yards, and they did that. 169 yards on the ground, 36 attempts, 4.7 yards per carry. Like that's going to put you in position to do a lot of good things over the course of a full season. Like I feel like the fans need to kind of forget the first 6 games happened. I know it says we're 2-6, but you almost have to like let that first third of the season go, because it just was a totally different team. Like this team doesn't feel like the same team that it was 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or whatever. Now, granted, in this game, I will say I was getting a little worried about your boy Peanut Butter and Jelly first half. I was concerned. He was throwing balls behind receivers, in front of receivers. He just seemed a little bit off, just a little bit off. And
but he didn't fold though. He stayed poised. And the one thing I would say, because of Wilkes, I Bleav he didn't fold. I Bleav Coach Wilkes probably pulled him aside and said, "Hey, you got this. Now go out there and throw the ball. Just pitch and catch. Yeah. Just pitch and catch. That's all it is."
I'm not going Yankee for Baker. It's just you, buddy. Like you got this. Calm down.
But like you said though, that running game, the identity is the run game. If you run the ball, now the defense has to stop the run, and it opens things up downfield. So
I'm falling in love with Deonta Foreman. Not just him as a player, but like what he brings to the offense. Because I feel like he jumpstarts the offensive line too. I feel like they play off each other, and you get the offensive line kind of lathered up a little bit, and they start leaning on dudes. Like Deonta's a different kind of running back than McCaffrey was.
When you see a guy in a pile turning his legs, while you're and you see, and I'm pretty sure, as an offensive lineman, you're like blocking a guy, and then all of a sudden you feel a jolt behind you. You're like, oh, he's right there. Oh, they're not blowing the whistle yet. Oh man, I can still go. Oh, now I got a good grip on this guy. I'm about to get a pancake.
Was that a touchdown in the second or third quarter that Foreman had, where like he got stood up like 2 yards out? Like you could see it on the parallel camera where it was like boom, and then like you just see him like move them all into the end zone.
It was like one of them slow cartoons, like where like a building just goes.
And it just got him in there, and I knew he was going to get there too. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh, he's going to get that. He's going to get that. He worked for it."
That boy
it's a mentality, man. Like it's like a lunch pail mentality. They were comparing him to Derrick Henry on the broadcast yesterday, and at first I kind of scoffed at it. And as the game went on, I was like, okay, I see some parallels here. I can see why they were able to plug him in at Tennessee last year and not miss a beat, because he's the same type of runner. He's an upright, big dude. Late in games, people are wondering if they want to tackle him. Yeah, he's got a little shiftiness to his feet. Between him and Chuba Hubbard, who we could have really used in this game yesterday, although, again, the other guys, Blackshear showed up. Spencer Brown showed up, some key carries. I feel like this is a formula they can use each week. Now, let's just get to the elephant in the room, the end of this game, 37-34. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, real quick, Brad Tippett Want to ask you this open mailbag here on Bleav in Carolina Panthers. Should the Panthers have used CMC and Foreman more like D. Will and Stew back in 2009? Could they have had double trouble 2.0? That's a question we'll never know, Brad. Because I think they should have, but
very speculative. Or is that
I mean,
speculative or
they didn't really do that when you and him were here together, though, right? They didn't really run it the exact same way as when it was you and D'Angelo. Was there a difference?
I mean, early on when me and D'Angelo, when I first got here, we definitely shared the backfield. We just came out of the game whenever we felt like it. Whenever we were tired, just kind of had like a look to the sideline, like, "Hey, you see me over there tired? Come and get me." So it's kind of like a tag team in that realm. But we really didn't get to maximize our time together in the backfield because of injuries. There was a spell of injuries that I had to overcome. There were some injuries that he had to overcome. So there's a large part of time where it was just the guy that's healthy that's playing. So but to answer your point, should they have used Foreman earlier on? I absolutely think they should have, because I think it's always good to have a change of pace back, to just, to just give a defense a different look. There's times where Foreman was in on certain downs, when Christian was here. I would have wished they would have, actually given him the ball more on those downs. So that way it just wasn't predictable.
Yeah. I saw that before Matt Rule was let go, D'Onta Foreman had only had 7 carries with the Panthers to that point. It's almost criminal, like how much it appears that Matt Rule was holding back the roster because, again, it feels like a completely different unit. Terrence Marshall out here making big catches.
Yeah.
He was MIA like the whole year until like a couple of weeks ago.
I mean, right now, what's happening is it seems like Coach Wilkes is like uncuffing some of the players that have been on the team.
Yeah.
And
just his presence being there.
Yeah, just his presence being there, maybe their confidence, and then just him, letting these guys know, like, hey, you're on this team for a reason, and it's to help us win games. So get ready, be ready, and stay ready.
So now let's address what happened here at the end of this game, because I saw a lot of people. Usually on Monday, it's me trying to assign blame to someone for whatever just happened on Sunday. I'm not going to do that on Monday. I'm not doing that this week because I don't feel like it's justified. And word from the NFL kind of proves that statement. So DJ Moore, for starters, PJ Walker launched this football like 64 yards in the air. 70. Like, so they score on a touchdown with 20 seconds left in the fourth quarter, no timeouts. You're looking for that moment. You know what I mean? Like, you're okay, PJ, this is it. This is a moment. You can make a moment. And lo and behold, somehow DJ Moore, I don't know how the Atlanta Falcons allowed this dude to get behind them, knowing what the situation was, but he did. He catches the football. It's a touchdown. Game tied 34-34. From that point on, things go nuts because DJ Moore, gets out the end zone, takes off his helmet, celebrates with his teammates, flag on the play. So the flag actually, Atlanta had a choice. They could choose to either take the yards on the extra point, or they could choose to, what was the other option they had here? I'm trying to find it. They had 2 choices. They could do one or the other. They chose to do the yards. And Eddie Pinheiro, the kicker, missed it. It was a 48-yard point after attempt, and he pulled it left to the upright. They go to overtime. Atlanta gets the ball first. C.J. Henderson, who had been much maligned the past couple of weeks by Panther Nation for a couple of blown
Can you please explain what that word means?
Maligned?
Yeah.
He had been basically picked on by the Panther fan base for blown assignments. Actually,
just for the listeners that don't have a large vocabulary.
I think they basically were making fun of him for like, why are you here? That kind of thing. Oh, you're a rule guy. That kind of thing. Henderson gets the interception off of Marcus Mariota, takes the ball 54 yards up to the Falcons 20. We're thinking, okay, DJ's going to get the defense had his back. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, oh, the defense went out there and got it back for him, which they did. And then Eddie Pinheiro botched another kick. He yanks it from 32 yards out, which is actually shorter than a regular extra point. So here are my points here for that. For the ones that are all like, well, we could have – DJ cost us this game. No, he didn't. If DJ catches that football, he tied the game. Like, literally, if he had not caught that ball, the game is over right there. What he did after did not – I mean, it didn't make it where we were guaranteed not to kick this extra point. And it painfully drove it home in overtime when Pinheiro missed a kick shorter than the extra point would have been after DJ did it. So, in theory, we have no idea if Pinheiro would have hit that extra point after DJ scored the touchdown. So, it could have went overtime either way. Would the odds been a little bit better? I would think. I almost wish I didn't see the second one at all. If I hadn't seen the second one, I'd have felt more comfortable. Like, okay, if DJ hadn't done this, then we probably would have hit the extra point.
This is what people have.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this is what people have to realize. You have a guy that fought for 60 minutes to win a football game and running all over the field to get open. And he got open.
Yeah.
At the very last play of the game supposed to be the last play of the game.
It wasn't that much separation either. I think ESPN or somebody had it was like a 0.8 second. I mean, literally, the dudes are on his back. Like,
on his back. Literally on his shoulder and his arm. And he's going for the catch.
And PJ threw a rope.
A dime.
Yeah.
And so the excitement level that a guy has in that moment, I mean, I'm in my living room going bananas. I'm over here pushing I got friends from out of town. I'm over there pushing them. He almost fell into the fireplace. It was crazy.
My wife was sitting here trying to take a nap. I don't know why she thought she could take a nap on the couch during a Panther game, but
my little nephew over there crying on the couch because he's scared that we over there yelling in the house.
Did you feel like he was going to catch it? There was a sense I felt like he was going to catch it when the ball was in there.
When I saw PJ roll out of there, the way he moves the pocket, by the way, PJ,
yep.
I love how he moves out and gets to his place to throw. He gets to a place, if you've seen it, he gets to a place to where he can set up and throw it to wherever guys are open. And I love that about him. I knew he was about to make that because he dropped the one before. And I knew he was going to get when he got another opportunity, he would make that catch and deliver. And he did. So he want to get up and throw his helmet off. I'm with that. I'm trying to throw my helmet off too.
I was throwing
stuff. I'll tell you, but now fans, he knows the rules. I know the rules. We all know the rules. But do not make this a DJ Moore should have known better or had done better or, he's such a bad Like, man, it's emotions at the end of the day.
They had won 10 games in 2 years.
Yeah, man, listen. Like, he's sitting there today like, man, I should have kept my helmet on. All right. Well, DJ, I just want to let you know, helmet on, helmet off. I appreciate you going to get that thing and scoring that touchdown because without you, my friend, we wouldn't have been in the position, okay? Exactly. You and P.J. Walker in that offensive line, every player on that field at that very moment, I appreciate you doing what you're doing. Keep it going because we need that same hype. I need that same energy.
It felt good as a fan to yell like that. I haven't yelled like that in a Panther game. I realized since before rule was here, like maybe 2019 was rough too. Maybe 2018.
Yeah. I lost my voice yesterday, bro.
Yeah, I'm sitting there hollering and screaming in the living room. I'm like, it's just the ebb and flow of the whole fourth quarter in particular. But those last couple of minutes and then into the overtime, I just realized it's been a long time since, as a Panther fan, where I'm like up here,
where you felt invested,
I was invested.
So Panther fans, like, appreciate the moment of like, oh man, we almost had that one because you really almost had it. And I know you don't, almost doesn't count. But what I'm trying to say is the level of excitement right now that these guys are playing. Appreciate that. Give credit to that. Now, we expect them to win, of course. We expect our teams to win. But we didn't get a lot of help with that penalty being called the way it was because I don't think it should have been thrown. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't either. Go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and quick
ahead and
because
school us on that, Desmond.
I didn't think about it at first because I was more stuck on, oh man, like when the flag happened, it was like one of those late flag type things where it was like, oh, what could this possibly be? And then they were like, well, it was thrown on the celebration. So I'm like, okay, so the touchdown stands. So I wasn't even really thinking about what he did. Then once they started explaining what he did, I really didn't put two and two together in terms of them pushing the extra point back. And it wasn't until later in the evening after the game was over and I'm sitting watching a movie or something that it popped in my head. I was like, wait a minute. Last year, the Cam Newton game on the road, Arizona, Cam Newton's first game back as a Carolina Panther, and he ran in for that first running touchdown, that rushing touchdown, and the whole team goes nuts. They're celebrating in the end zone. What does he do? The first thing he does, he finds a camera in the end zone. He takes off his helmet and starts screaming, "I'm back," over and over again into the camera. You know, it's like that was the same part of the field that DJ was on when he took his helmet off. Why is it not the same? Because they did get penalized for him doing that, but they got penalized for group celebration, not taking off the helmet. And instead of it being enforced on the extra point, they enforced it on the kickoff. So the Panthers just backed up 15 yards on the kickoff, which would have been huge because like if they had done it that way where we would have potentially been up one and we would have been able to kick the football on a point where we could have put it in play because we've been 15 yards back.
We would have won. Just call it.
Probably won the game if Panero hits the extra point. And that's the problem with all of this because Panero actually had a chance to win this twice and didn't. And I can't be that mad at him because he's the backup kicker. He's not even the starting kicker. He's in right now because the main kicker got hurt. And he had up until this point had been hitting like 80% or something crazy on field goals. So, I mean, I don't know why he shanked the second one. He knew it as soon as it left his foot. But the team itself, everything I've asked for, they did yesterday. They fought. They got behind. It was like you get punched in the face. What do? They immediately responded. They kept responding all day. That's a reflection of the coach to me. That's a reflection of leadership in the locker room.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. Go ahead with yourself. Go ahead with your bad self there, Wilksy.
Yo, I saw a press conference today. Did you see? He's kind of swagged out. He had on App State like a sweatshirt and like some yellow like Nikes or whatever. Like he trying to chill out. He's doing his thing. So let's take a real quick look at the box score here, as we usually do on Mondays. Just kind of get a feel of what the Panthers did. PJ Walker, like I said, he started out slow, finished 317 yards, 19 for 36 passing, about 8.8 yards throwing, had a touchdown and an interception. He got sacked 8 times. Is that right? No. He got sacked 1 time. I think that's right. His QBR showing 29.6. Well, a lot of that was the first quarter. Marcus Mariota in comparison, 239. He got sacked twice. He threw 2 interceptions. Deonta Foreman, we talked about him, 26 carries, 118 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. And I did catch on that broadcast, I didn't see the date, but they said the last time a Panther running back had scored 3 touchdowns in a game was you. It was you, Jonathan Stewart. I think it was 20.
That was me.
Yeah, I think it was 2015. I think it's what they said. I couldn't remember the year, but
the Vikings.
Yeah, there you go. So the Foreman, esteemed company in Panther running back lore from yesterday's thing. He made me a fan yesterday. On the other side, we knew Atlanta was going to come in trying to run the ball, and they did. They rushed for 167 yards. It was kind of a platoon between Huntley. Mariota had 43.
Mariota had a dagger on that run. I remember that. What's that run towards the end there?
Yeah, it killed us. It killed us.
I was like, there goes that duck.
Yup. I mean,
if we're gonna lose, we're gonna lose to a duck.
Atlanta's weird, man, because I went into it like, okay, they're trying to rebuild, is what I thought. They got some young dudes, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, like in the skill positions. Mariota, he's doing what they're asking him to do. What did you think coming out of that game about Atlanta? Because they're 4-4, they're leading the NFC South with 9 games to play. That's another thing too. I keep seeing people going, "Oh, we're in 3rd position for the draft or whatever." Like, shut up. We are only halfway through a season. Like, please stop talking about the draft. Like, we don't want to hear it right now. We're trying to win some games out here. What was your impression of Atlanta? Like, our first time seeing them this year.
I mean, Kyle Pitts is a player. I think his presence on that team spoke very loud and clear to who they want him to be. It's just all about getting him the ball. And for whatever reason, our matchups yesterday, that happened. So I think I don't know, man. I really feel like it's just one of those things where like you play this what if game, right? Like, what if Jeremy Chin was in the back there, covering deep? Like, would there be a Kyle Pitts in that game? I don't believe so. So I just know I just think it's just one of those things where certain matchups for us just really were favorable to them on the defensive side. And just, the RPO is always going to be hard to defend, especially when you got a quarterback that can actually get juicy. And so, and then you have a tight end that is also very, quick and can move as well. So that's what they were really killing us with yesterday was the RPO. And so if you get a team that can dial in on that, I don't really see them going far. And I think that's what happened to them with Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati was prepared for that. And so I guess the next time we see these guys, we just need to really lock in on, the RPO.
Mariota is a perfect example of, we talked about this last week where we were questioning play calling earlier in the year when Baker was still starting. They were running a lot of RPO with him and Christian McCaffrey, and defenses were kind of just disrespecting it because they knew Baker Mayfield wasn't going to run the football. With this yesterday, it was a different beast because we knew Mariota was going to run the football, and we knew Atlanta wanted to run it as a whole, and they would throw out of it. So it was a different kind of animal. I wish, and Eugene Robinson mentioned this on the radio broadcast. I heard some of the post game, and he mentioned this too. There was a play where PJ rolled out, and to what you just said, he rolls to like a spot, like he's going to throw it. And Eugene was like, some of those he could take off running and pick up 20 yards. Like that's the next step for PJ.
That is the next step, is to realize those opportunities, because a lot of quarterbacks get in that habit of like, look for the receiver, save your body. And definitely there was like at least two of those where there was like an easy 12, maybe 20. But man, I'm not going to fault that, man. Save your body.
I don't have a issue with PJ Walker right now. And Steve Wilkes said in the post conference today on Monday that he is the starter going into next week. He didn't do anything to not be the starter, to be honest.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, so it's the PJ Walker show, maybe for the rest of the year. We'll see. They got to start winning though. We're running out of road, Stu. Like they got to start winning some games.
They're gonna start winning, man. They're gonna get on a little. I still believe in 10 wins. Y'all call me crazy if you want to.
It's gonna be tight. It's gonna be real tight.
Real tight.
Here's the beauty of all of this, guys. We're 2-6 in the 2-1 in the conference. Carolina probably put it right here. If we win this week, Atlanta loses, we're in the exact same position we were in this week. Like, and we're gonna see them Thursday night, Amazon Prime. Like, we're gonna see the Falcons twice in like 10 days. So if we can beat Cincinnati, I think that's a road game, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's on the road.
Yeah, it's a road game.
And Cincinnati's not exactly world beaters. I know Joe Burrow is a very good quarterback.
Jamar Chase is hurt, so it's going to be
he's out.
Who's that? Boyd and Higgins?
Higgins.
Higgins.
Yeah. They still got a couple guys, but yeah, clearly Jamar's his main dude. So they're coming into this limping a little bit. If we can get that and get back, we
definitely got to make sure we stop that run game. We'll get into that later Thursday, but
Thursday we'll do our preview on keys to the game versus the Bengals.
This is that part of the season where people's run game, if you've been sleeping on it, it's going to come alive.
Let's get a little spicy here real quick because Thomas Hayes comments. You want to touch on Jonathan Vilma still being salty because Stu flipped his little on the block. Now he's all negative towards Panthers every game he calls. I was seeing a lot of people on Twitter complaining that Jonathan Vilma was calling this game. Like, can we send a letter or something to the NFL and ask them to never put Vilma on a Panthers game? We've seen this from time to time. I'm trying to think of the last one that was really bad at it, where if an announcer gets stuck calling like a Panthers game and they were like in the division or something for years, you kind of sense like in their voice.
He's got a lot. He's got a lot of history, man. You got to respect the player though, like that. I mean, he's played and he's given his body to this game. So if he's calling games, he's got something to say. He's speaking from,
I don't remember anything specific that he said that made me like perk up. It was just the tone.
Maybe the tone of like, I remember when Cam Newton.
It was stuff like that. Like, because I think it was.
Newton
there was something where
Ron Rivera and his team.
they were asking about attacking Cam Newton or something, and he lit up. And I don't know. I think it's just more because it's the Saints and Panthers. And
hey, everybody just move on. Let it go, like Frozen and Elsa.
Who would you say is the biggest rival to the Panthers in this division? Like, who did you guys get up more for one team than another?
Man, it really depended on the season. I mean, the season for me. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, when I first started playing for the Panthers, it was the Buccaneers. And
right.
Then it shifted to the Saints. And then it shifted to the Falcons. I would say at its very peak, the Saints were definitely the rivalry because they were the team to beat because of Drew Brees and Sean, and the way Sean Payton kind of rolled the dice, and the whole cheap shot story that was going on with their defensive coach paying guys to do the cheap shots and all that.
That wasn't a story. That was a whole big thing. Like Payton got suspended for a year. The guy half the Panther Nation wants to come coach here. Sean Payton. He's not coming. He's not gonna be here.
He ain't coming here.
He's never coming here. He's our new Bill Cowher. He is our new Bill Cowher. That went on for like a decade. That Bill Cowher was gonna be the next head coach. And
listen, y'all need to be team coach Wilkes.
Yes.
Coach
yes.
Wilkes. Steve Wilkes. Everybody likes Steve Wilkes. The players like Steve Wilkes. Everybody likes Steve Wilkes.
I think Tepper likes Steve Wilkes. I think what's not to like? Like maybe it's just because we were thirsty for so long. It's like he just, you know what I mean? Like he's just this big, huge ass like drink of Kool-Aid or something, and like we just been walking the desert for like 2 years. Just
is that ice water? Is that ice water?
He shows up with that pink lemonade with some sugar at the bottom. He's like, hey, some of this young fella. It's gonna taste good. It's gonna taste good. So I want Wilkes to win some games so that he can be in serious consideration for this role next year. It just makes too much sense to keep him. Charlotte native, went to West Charlotte High School, App State graduate, been on staff, learned under Rivera. Like it just makes too much sense. Like to not consider him in here, and he won't get considered if we finish, 2-15 or whatever. Like we got to win some games.
When does Jeremy Chin come back?
That's a good question. That's actually a Schuyler question. Because he's really more in tune with he's more in tune.
Reveal yourself, Schuyler.
I wish he would just pop up and like Jeremy Chin will play next Thursday versus the Falcons and just like bounce back down again, like real quick, like off like on a beach in Aruba or wherever he went for his honeymoon.
Hey, hold on. Let's give a quick shout out. I know he don't play here no more, but your boy Christian McCaffrey out there doing the most right now.
Woo! Yeah, buddy.
Like throwing touchdowns, catching touchdowns, running touchdowns. Like I'm happy for my man's dog.
What did we say last week? All he needs is a week. Kyle Shanahan just needs a week to see what can he do and what can he not do. And he found out in practice this week, he can do a lot.
Oh, this is a unicorn. I have a unicorn. He's not a football player. He's a unicorn.
I saw that like Shanahan asked like his coaching staff, like I think Wednesday or Thursday of last week, they were like, can he throw the football? And then like one of them came back with like a clip of him throwing a touchdown with us and a 50-yard touchdown pass. And Shanahan was like, all right, bet, and put it in. And they ended up doing it. And I'm just like, all of my friends are messaging me like, oh, man, I'm so sorry for you. I'm like, nah, don't do that. We did that last week. Like, I'm happy for him. Like, I'm happy for him. I'm not going to do this every time he does some crazy 70-yard play or throws a touchdown or jukes somebody out of their socks. I'm not going to be that guy they message and be like, oh, man, he did it.
You want to know who was surprising? Not surprising, just happy for TMJ.
Oh, yeah. Terrence Marshall Jr., man. He looked like a legit NFL wide receiver yesterday.
And I love that they was going to him in the end zone for the jump balls, the 50-50s. Keep on doing those because eventually he going to get them.
It looks like Chin is eligible for play now because he was on injured reserve for 4 weeks. He's already missed those 4 games. So technically he can come back this week. In theory, I'm looking to see. I know they won't have an update for him on Monday, but I'm looking to see if there's been any update.
That would be huge.
Yep, we get him back for Cincinnati.
Oh,
I feel It's weird. I know we lost the game, and I know how we lost it. Normally, this would be like one of those Panther Mondays where I'm just moping around. I'm just like, man, that was a bad way to lose that game. But I think it was the fact that they shouldn't even been in overtime. Like, in theory, they shouldn't even been in overtime.
We scored a lot of points.
Man, what did they score in the fourth quarter? They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. 34 points is the most points they've scored this season in a football game. Might be the most they've scored in a couple of seasons. I think the Kansas City game a couple of years ago, they were in the 30s, but I don't remember them scoring this much in a game in a long while. 2 interceptions. CJ Henderson got one. Dante Jackson got one early in the game. I like where they're going. I like the vibe of what the team is trying to do, where before it was like you would always hear Matt Rule going, we're working at it. We're looking at the film. We're getting better every week. But we didn't believe it because in the next week they would be the exact same team. This team feels like they get better. Like the 2 weeks that Wilkes has had them, yesterday, they looked better than what they looked the week before. And the week before, I thought they looked great. So, it feels like they're growing from that 21-3 win a couple of weeks ago to now. Rock Jones asked the panel, chances we still win the South?
You already know where my head is.
Yeah, Stu got us winning 10 games. I think 10 games wins the South. Hell, 9 might win the South. You might be able to win it with 9 and 8. I think that the season is still young. I'm kind of tripping on Panther fans throwing in the towel on this season. There's still 9 games left in this season. We haven't even finished going through the first round of the NFC South. Like, there's still plenty of time. And this this division is not that great. It's not that great at all. Like we said earlier, if we win on Sunday and the Falcons lose, we're in the exact same position playing for first place on Thursday night on Amazon Prime. And I'm kind of expecting that to happen a little bit because I know I'm ahead, but I'm gonna pick the Panthers to beat Cincinnati. I won't give how or the score, but I feel good about them on the road.
Yeah, I feel good about them too. I mean, we got the Falcons right after the Bengals. The Ravens, they not looking great. You know how I feel about the Broncos. Let's ride.
Yeah, this will be a fun one.
The Seahawks might be the one.
Geno's kind of like PJ Walker right now, where he's an enigma. Like people don't know. There's not enough tape on him playing well for us to really go off of it. And he's playing really good right now.
Really good, making good decisions. And then so, I mean, you look at the rest of our schedule, I mean, the division games we got to win, So I'm good with us going, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. And then Seahawks come in, that might be a little difficult game.
So 5 and 6. I think it's possible. I don't think it's crazy. Like the way the schedule looks and the way they're playing, they're getting some players back off of injury. Yeah. I think, Chuba, I'd imagine, might be ready next week. He had the sprained ankle. Jeremy Chin, depending on how, his IR stint went. Again, he's eligible to come back this week. We'll get some work. By the time we get to Thursday, we'll have a better idea if Chin will be available. Still a lot of season left. A question with the trade deadline coming up tomorrow. Brad Tippett asked, would you trade the extra second round pick to pick up another edge rusher to help Burns now? They're probably going that direction in the draft anyway. I don't know who's out there that you would trade a second round pick for at this point of the season. It's almost like let Yatur Gross-Matos grow. Let some of these other guys get a shot, I guess. Because, at this point, you're going into November. I don't know who's available out there that would.
The Broncos got a DN that I heard some rumors they was trying to move somebody. But my answer to that is, man, I ain't trying to see no more trades. I'm trying to see these guys play together for the rest of the year and just get going. Yeah, Bradley Chubb. That's the DN.
Former top 5 pick. Bradley Chubb's on the trade block?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe they were talking about that before they won that game in London. They was probably thinking about tanking.
Russ like, yeah! Right! They was excited. You got the Broncos coming. Like I said, it's going to be a fun week when we get to the Broncos. But yeah, I mean, overall, I felt like Panther Nation, don't beat yourself up over this. Feel happy that we actually were involved in a game that people were talking about on Monday, like for the first time in like 2 years. Like I'm literally flipping through like First Take or Get Up or whatever, like I do in the mornings. And usually we're not talked about at all. The past 2 years in particular, they just don't even talk about us. And they're starting to talk about us a little bit. And some of the talking heads are starting to be like, hey, Carolina might be able to do something here. Glass half full, not half empty. We're okay. We're on better ground than we were a couple weeks ago. Feel good about that and the potential going forward that they've actually shown. I'm excited about that. Finally seeing some of these young players get put in positions to potentially succeed, whereas before some of them weren't even getting on the field and there was no explanation for it. But that's how I feel about it here in the end. Your final thoughts on Panthers Falcons? Panthers fall 37-34 in overtime to the Falcons, dropped to 2-6 on the season, but got strangely some new light going forward. What's your final thoughts as we get out of here?
The performance, was good to see them put up points. Obviously, I'm pretty sure the defense isn't happy with how many points they allowed for the Falcons. Obviously, one of those touchdowns was due to pick six off the the screen lob there early on. But I think we can win with that, and I think that's what everyone saw, and I think that's why everyone's really disappointed. Is because you saw the potential of what the Carolina Panthers are to be and what we all thought of the Carolina Panthers going into the season. So that being said, I love this as a confidence game for them going forward into the Cincinnati Bengals game this week. Hopefully, guys didn't leave that game banged up too much. It's a short week. So, I'd actually, not thinking about it, I'd actually be surprised to see Jeremy Chin show up, for that game because it's a short week. But, that will help, going into that game. But, dude, the Panthers look good. I mean, offense looked good. And we needed that. We needed to see that, and we saw it. We know what the defense can do, and I'm pretty sure they are thinking to themselves, we will play better. And I'm excited about that.
I almost forgot. Shout out to the offensive line. We need to shout out this offensive line because they are killing people right now. Like, Ike Ekwonu has turned into not just one of the best rookie linemen in the league, like one of the best linemen in the league. Yes. Like it's string the past 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah. And it's accelerated a lot of other things. If the Panthers are going to rattle off 160 yards rushing per game, they're going to win more than they lose. Like, I'm sorry, they just are. With the defense that we have, they had a couple breaks at the end or throughout, and then the defense needs to learn to go out and take a game. And they kind of started doing that today. They were really trying.
Kudos to the defense for that last play. We got that interception.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of those things. Let's go get this and win this game. I really love how the defensive line's playing too. Led by Brown. My man came alive, right?
Where's he been? Yeah, he just as soon. It's so crazy. It's as soon as this cloud got lifted, all these different names started. Just randomly, dudes that were never on the field, guys that had been out there the whole time, and it felt like we hadn't mentioned Derek Brown's name in months, and now I feel like
he had 5 tackles solo and 7 assists and 25 sacks.
The future's bright. The future is very bright. And now we got some work to do. For those that are in the Steve Wilkes camp, we got to get some wins, baby. We need some wins to justify this man's resume and keep him here. But we'll be back Thursday, 1 o'clock for the preview between Panthers and Falcons. Come on in. It's open mailbag Thursday. Tell them why you're mad Thursday. Maybe we open that up to the public as well, where we basically go through and explain something that irritated us throughout the week. It's got to be football related, not necessarily Panthers, but it's got to be football related. We'll open that up with the open mailbag on Thursday too. You can listen or hear or watch this episode and all other Bleav in Carolina Panthers episodes on the Bleav Podcast Network. On the YouTube channel for Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Just search that, subscribe. You'll get a reminder every time a new one's about to begin. That's where you can get the video. And the audio's on every major podcast platform. Just search Bleav in Carolina Panthers. So for Jonathan Stewart, the newly married Schuyler Callihan, I'm Desmond Johnson. You've been listening and watching to the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast on Bleav Networks. Keep pounding.